Greece, of course, it's an evolving situation. Um, the direct exposure to Greece is very, very limited for India. Uh, and we've done a few studies on this to just ensure that that is in fact the case, both financial as well as real in terms of trade. There is, of course, the indirect exposure in the sense of what Greece will do to, for example, exchange rates, how the euro will react to any Greece issue, or how any untoward developments in Greece could lead to a risk of sentiment amongst global investors. But because the direct impact is limited, our sense is after the initial burst of volatility, which undoubtedly there might be if developments turn adverse, that investors will start differentiating, and that when they start doing that, they will see that the India story is actually a very good one, continues to be a good one, and that we not only have good macro policies in place, but growth prospects, are quite healthy relative to the rest of the world. Plus, the buffers we have are quite reasonable, including our foreign exchange buffers. So, I hope that the next phase, and I'm fairly confident that the next phase of after initial volatility will be a reassessment which will be in our favor.
But is the inflation a matter of concern now?
Inflation is always a matter of concern. I think your question is how have our views on inflation changed since the last policy? I think it's evolving. I mean, obviously the news on the monsoon front has been good so far, but it is something that we are watching. What we said in our last policy statement is our policy stance will be contingent on the data, and we are watching the data.
But you always complain about lack of transmission. But given the NPA levels of the banks, how can you expect them to transmit also? That's some kind of an oxymoron kind of a situation.
Can you put up your mic, please? No, you're.
So the question is, given the NPA level of the banks, how can you expect transmission? Well, transmission occurs for a variety of reasons. As I've said in the past, competition is one of the reasons transmission takes place. And while you may want to retain profits, competition may not allow you to retain profits. So if banks at some point see the competition from the money markets, they may want to adjust their rates appropriately because they're not getting credit growth otherwise. But and we have seen some movement on the rates in the last few weeks. But I would also say that there is a legitimate concern about whether banks have the capacity to do the right thing in cleaning up their balance sheet, and some of that requires provisioning. So this is where the capital infusion becomes very important, that they should have enough capital so that they can, acknowledge what is already out there on their balance sheet and clean up. Again and again, I keep repeating, the way to get out of financial stress is to acknowledge the problem early. Every single period of financial stress suggests that early acknowledgement and then putting projects back on track is important. And some banks may need some capital to do that. And hopefully this capital infusion will help them do that.
So regarding plastic currencies, we've been talking about this for the past 2 years, and regarding plastic currencies, what's the stand now? Because Finance Minister is making people to go on cashless transactions, he's insisting us. So what's the stand?
We started the process of procuring it, but in the process there has been some technical problems that come up. So we are redoing that. So in the coming year, we should be able to get the process fully on. That is about the plastic currency per se. But plastic, the other related that relates to electronic payments to be encouraged. I think that.
No, you must have seen. We have over time tried to see that people move more and more to less cash-based transaction, less paper-based transaction. Volumes in electronic transactions, both value and volume terms have been going up. Mobile banking also is picking up. Maybe we have seen last couple of years it has In terms of value, it has gone up 5 times, but there is still a lot of scope to improve that. And government also is emphasizing on that, and there is a discussion paper which has come out from the government how we move more and more towards electronic payment system. That will also include encouraging use of plastic cards, and they are the 2-3 major issues is increasing the acceptance infrastructure in relation to the number of cards issued, more so post Jan Dhan, huge number of cards are issued. So that is what we are working and see that how you can do it. Other issue which is often quoted is this convenience fee. Sometimes the merchant or the government or some agency, they charge convenience fee of using card, and we want to make payment to government, whether government will charge something extra, because government say that you have to pay tax 100 rupees, I should get 100 rupees. There is no discount. So on those things also government has shown its willingness to look at those proposals. I think some of the things are in place. We are trying to see that more and more people move towards less paper-based and less cash-based transactions. And in parallel, as I mentioned, we also want to give more thrust to mobile banking, which is work in progress.
It's been some time since.
One sec. He wanted to-
Price of certain commodities have been increasing significantly in years. Example, cement and sugarcane. Is the new monetary policy helping in control the price rise?
I don't want to comment on specific commodities, but my sense is commodity prices have been not rising but falling for the most part. Of course, cement in certain areas in India has gone up, but sugar, for example, has been coming down rather than going up. So it's a mixed bag. Obviously, all these will be taken into account when looking at the overall inflation picture.
So it's been some time since bank heads have been stripped of the chairmanship portion. Have you seen any impact of it in bank performance so far?
It's a good question. Has bank performance deteriorated because they don't have heads? I think that all bankers are coming to us and saying that the sooner we put heads in place, the better. I don't know what the actual analysis will reveal. I would presume that if heads are important, there would be some deterioration. Whether it's significant or not, I don't know. But I think I think the government has seized of the issue, the need to move quickly on the appointment process. I would suggest that it is significantly progressed, and now we're very close to the announcement. But of course, the final word on that has to come from the government. It is not our appointment.
One last question.
There's been a lot of interpretation and misinterpretation about your speech in London. So we'd like to hear directly from you, what are the risks and challenges that the global economic scene is facing, and what do you think are the possible solutions?
See, this is, I would caution on press reports. This was a closed door session in which I gave a speech which I've given 4 times before. And somehow the word that came out, which I thought the first report on it was a reasonable summary, even though it was closed door and nobody was supposed to report it, was a reasonable summary of what I said. Then there was a summary of the summary, and then the summary of the summary of the summary. In this game of Chinese whispers, at the end of it, I was predicting the Great Depression again, which I think was completely, an extrapolation which was unwarranted by the actual content of the speech. Content of the speech is an issue that I've been raising many times, which was that monetary policy across the world, especially unconventional monetary policy of different kinds, is getting to the point that perhaps it may have the primary effect on the currency than on energizing interest rate sensitive sectors in that country. If that is the effect in net form, it starts resembling some of the competitive devaluation policies that we had in the 30s, which I worried about. Because, if a large currency area depreciates vis-a-vis India, then our exports find it more difficult to gain traction because the rupee then becomes overvalued. And there is pressure on all countries. The pressure here also from commentators. Why are you letting the rupee become, strong? I will not say that it is overvalued. I think it's fairly valued. But there are a number of commentators who think that the rupee is too strong. Today, Mr. Rajwade, who is a professor of mine at IIM, expressed those concerns in an article, and there are others who do that. So, given that, we should not, as the world, succumb to these policies of focusing only on the exchange rate, which then becomes detrimental because everybody can't depreciate against everybody else. That was the context in which I made that statement. I re-emphasize the global economy is in recovery. It's not a strong recovery by any means. That was the beginning of the speech. Recovery is weak, but it is not anywhere near anything that looks like a depression. So I would just completely deny anything that looks like that. India, I said at the beginning of my remarks, is in a process of steady recovery. Could it be faster? Would we want it to be faster? Obviously. But we have to work on all the areas of bottlenecks, areas where we need reform to ensure that the recovery is strong and sustainable, which I have no doubt it will be over time.